Yeah, you know, I sometimes use the word shadowing to talk about the way, you know, like a visual artist will sort of add to a line. And I think a lot of times I try to have, you know, something where one instrument will just pick up a note that the other instrument has just to create a kind of aura, or just writing in resonance. And I think that at the beginning there are these very high chords which start the piece, and then the cello comes in with these high artificial harmonics, and they kind of just, it's hard to hear where one just sort of emerges from the fog in a way. And so there's this misty sort of descending, very slowly moving chord succession, and the clarinet begins with a very long melody over that. So, and that kind of returns at the end. So I'd say in some ways the aura has to do with this kind of sense of, you know, there's an attempt at a kind of spectral approach to, you know, timbre and harmony sort of fusing in places.
So for those that might not be familiar, Tom Uri is a real pioneer in this technique of doing analysis of timbre to discover the discrete frequency components of the sound, and then to use that as a model for the harmonic language. And so you're kind of going there.
Yeah, there are, you know, sometimes the harmonies themselves are sort of based on kind of overtone series, so that things that, you know, harmonies can in fact kind of be just have an enhanced resonance if they're acoustically spaced. And then at times I feel like, yeah, I'm sort of bringing one instrument out of the other. I wouldn't consider myself, you know, a spectral composer, but I think that's been a big influence on a lot of us in, you know, over the last, you know, 3 or 4 decades. Yeah. Of course, vary from piece to piece, and I mean, this piece tonight was not written for this trio, although I've known these performers for many years, and I'm really happy to have another group take the piece and do their interpretation of it. I think, yeah, I consider myself somewhat of a sonic imagist, in the sense that most of my titles do refer to something in the real world that I'm trying to somewhat suggest through sound. And I'm also I'm quite driven by the idea of this emotional line of things. I think that, you know, in some ways when we talk about the spectral influences, there is somewhat of a scientific element to the actual study of sound and using, you know, modeling a composition on sound. But I think that there is in my music a lyrical element, and also I think a kind of an emotional curve that I'm going for, and I think, you know, all music has a combination of these different things, sometimes intellectual, sometimes more emotional, and you know, different pieces have different results in that way, but I am concerned with the idea of taking the listener on a sonic journey and hopefully, yeah, really moving the emotion.